Hello, it's me again, and we're going to do our thrilling conclusion of our Diamond series. Actually, I'm sorry, of our Gem series, starting off with a Gem 1, Dayan Gem 1, which was a pure corner turner, and as such displayed maximum amount of jumbling, which we had to use jumbling to get out of, and really you had true sides and false sides, but none of them turned on the side, basically. We moved up to the Dayan Gem 2, which was a neat little thing, kind of reminded me a little bit of the Master Scube and how nicely it scrambled. And you had a combination of our edge turning, but also we added on face turning. And the good news with the face turning was the fact that we did not have to jumble to get it back. We only needed to unjumble to get us into our shape shifting, and the jumbling was more, more subtle. And now we move to here, where we have lost all of our edge turning, and it's all face turning, but all the different faces. So now we don't just have the major faces, we also have the minor ones, but they turn too. So you can see that these faces turn, and these faces also turn. As such, we have completely evolved out of jumbling. We don't have to think about orbits, and this is solved less like a helicopter cube and more like a kind of a variation of a Megaminx. So we're going to leave the jumbling gems and go to Dayan Gem Type 3, where we can kind of work through this. Now, the main difficulty of this arises, I think, towards the last layer. And the way that I like to do the last layer is basically with a smaller face. Given the fact that this is a pure face turner, it's a combination of Megaminx type algorithms and Rubik's Cube type algorithms. So the good news is there isn't really much new to learn, but more just variations of that. So here's one variation that I'd like to point out right at the outset. And these are algorithms that move these guys around. The first is an algorithm to move these centers around. And you're going to find that it's very similar, I'm sorry, not centers, but edges around. You're going to find that it's very similar to the algorithm of a 3x3, R, U, RIU, R, 2U, RI. And you're going to, let's just kind of demonstrate how that works, because when it turns, by turning like this, it's actually not, you're actually putting the front part here to the front part here, as opposed to, well, we'll just show you what happens. But if I were to do R, if I define this as R and this is U, I'm going to do familiar algorithm R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI. And then I'm going to finish up with a 2U to kind of bring it back into position here. And then do it again, because now we have this up here as opposed to down here. So R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, and then do 2U to bring it back. Now notice what happened is that this center triangle stayed exactly where it was, but these guys rotated. This moved to here, this moved to here, this moved to here, and this moved down here. So I caused a little bit of a counterclockwise rotation within these guys. That's going to be important later, and I didn't really affect anything else. So I'm going to do that same algorithm again, do it twice, and it'll move it back. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, double turn it, R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, double turn, and once more should rotate them all back. RI, U, R, 2U, RI, 2, R, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, 2U. Okay, so that's one algorithm to keep in mind, which we're going to be using as to how to fiddle, as to how to flip these all around. When first starting to play around with this puzzle, that's what I did at first, is to see what some usual algorithms did and how they affected other things around it. Now, you may find yourself in a situation where you're not going to have a situation where you have one complete solved side and 3 centers that aren't solved. You may find yourself with 2 solved and 2 not solved. Well, what we want to do is we want to refine the algorithm a little bit to shake it up, so that if things are not in the right position, we can kind of scramble them around a little bit so that you can maybe get them in the right position. This is going to be, it's a longer algorithm, but the good news is it's just a variation of the algorithm that you have. So if you should see like 2 opposite edges that are in and 2 that are out, or vice versa, then what you do is start off with a U. just do a U from wherever you're at. And instead of R, just start off with a 2R and just do everything the same. So it's going to be 2R, 1, 2, U, RI, U, and then R, 2U, RI, and then do 2U, and then just do it again. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, and then finish it up again with a 2U, but you have to get another RI because you did a 2R to begin with over here. So what you're going to see with that is that gave me a situation where I've got two that are out. Well, that's not the situation. You know, if you end up with that situation to get out of that, you just do that modification. So what I would do is I would maybe hold it here. Doesn't really matter. Just start off with a U, then 2R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, then 2U, and then go right back into R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, then do your 2U, and do one more RI, and that'll kind of shake it up a little bit, kind of get you out of that situation. Put these back in, and then we can decide what we need to do. If I do my first algorithm, this will stay the same, and these guys will flip around. This will come here, solve this side. This will come here, not solve it. This will come here, not solve it. So I'll have that configuration. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, then do our 2U, do it again. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, bang. This is the configuration that we wanted. Hold this to where our solve side is to the left, and do it again, and everything should rotate just fine. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, then 2U, then R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, and RI, and we got it. Okay, so that's going to come in useful towards the end. Those are the only algorithms that you're going to need to know. Well, almost. There's one more. Before you get these guys in place, you've got to make sure that these final corners are going to be in place as well. The way that you do that is from time to time, these guys need to be flipped. That algorithm, luckily, is exactly the same thing, sort of. Let's say these two wanted to be flipped. The algorithm that you would do for that is going to be, that's going to be the same thing, start off with the same thing. Okay, and that's going to be R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI. You're going to see this, well then finish it up with a 2U again. You're going to see this is the odd one out, this is the odd one out over here. So now I'm going to position it here so that they're both sort of in conjunction with each other. Then I do the same algorithm but opposite now. So instead of RU, I'm going to go RUI. So that's going to be RI, UI, R, UI, RI, 2U, R. What that did effectively is, put this back here, is it flipped these two. This one that was orange went up here. So these two got flipped. So if you're ever in this situation to flip it back, same thing. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, 2U. Put these two in conjunction with each other and just do the opposite. RI, UI, R, UI, RI, 2U, and R. And these are flipped back. And then all I have to do is deal with these guys in kind. So if I hold it here, this will come here, this will come here, this will come here, and we'll just kind of get things back the way that we should do. R, U, RI, U, R, 2U, RI, All right, there we go. One more time. And there you have it. Okay, that's really all you need to know. So I welcome you to try that out because that's going to be the hardest part of it. But let's go ahead and go through the strategy of how to solve this. It's a neat little puzzle. A lot of fun to do, a lot of fun to solve. So what I'm going to do is, because this is just a face turner, there's really no tricks in terms of scrambling. So let's go ahead and scramble it the usual way. Alakazam. Okay. Now, I admit I had a lot of fun with this puzzle because I couldn't do it exactly like a Megaminx. It took a little bit of modifying strategies, which of course I always enjoy. So I'm going to start off with a green layer, as I always do. And the first step is to get your star over here, which is really your cross, if this were a cube. Now, I should have pointed out that there's two types of triangles here. You can see that there's two that are combined together, so this pink and green are always the same, and then there's one that hangs by itself, which is part of this side over here. So just bear that in mind. So with this, as this green is already in, I'll just put it over here by the pink. So there's a couple of techniques used to solve the first couple of layers all the way down to the last one, which we pretty much already went over. But let's find another green, any green actually. So here's a green over here. Well, here's a green and yellow. So let's find our yellow center and move it into it. Right over here. So this is yellow. Move it into the green and whoop. Move it into the green and we're good. Found another one that poked its way in here. So put this on the red. And really this is just a matter of maneuvering. Barely even calling it strategy, just assembly, really. So this green can go over here. Now I can use any green, there's no specific one here. That always makes me worried about parity if one is actually supposed to belong there, and I don't know if that's the case, but I've never seen parity with this. Of that nature, anyway. Alright, so move this here, move this up, move this down. And very quickly, without really any messy cleanup or anything like that, we're able to get our first star, green star. So once we have this in, the next step is to put in our green edges. Now beware, green corners rather. There's different types of green corners. There's this type and then there are these type. Now this type doesn't belong here. You can tell because this is a square piece or a square side. And these are trapezoids. So the ones that go up here are trapezoidal shaped. Don't confuse that for the square green, which comes over here. So we've got a couple here that are not at places where they're supposed to be. So let's go ahead and just randomly find one. Let's move this out. Okay, so this one goes where the pink is. So we'll move this in here. And the way that I do it is we want to coincide this green and pink with one of the sides over here. We're actually going to use these layers to position it and then move this layer to put it in. So basically, I'm going to move this over to here, and then this is going to be moved into where it's supposed to be here. So if I were to turn this down over here, I'm going to try to line up the green one so that it comes into this green over here. Does this one move into that position? Well, if I move this here, as you can see, it doesn't. So what that tells me is that this is supposed to come up over here. So I'm just going to move this out over here, and I'm going to move this down here. So this is actually a green and pink side, but I'm going to move it down here so that this green and pink side here can coincide with this center, this edge. So it's just a matter of lining it up. So I use this large side to position it. Then I use the small side to bring it in. So now that's in. It's probably a lot easier to do than to describe, but let's go ahead and look for the other one. So here's the other green and pink. So see, the whole key here is getting perspective first. So now that I have this here, I'm going to position it to where this green here moves down like so. So it's going to coincide with this. And I'm going to position this up here. So now this moves in to here, this green and pink, and now I move it up. Alright, so I don't think that's going to be too hard to figure out, but I'm just coinciding it with these centers here. So we'll do another one slowly. Alright, so let's look for another one. Why don't we try this? This is a green, white, and yellow, but it's only the green and yellow that we're going to try to coincide with with this over here. So let's move this down, cross, and up so we can just bump that out of the way. And now where is it supposed to go? Which one will it coincide with? Well, we'll move it here, move it into here, and here. So which of these yellow sides, I can move it here, but no, that's not going to work. Actually, we'll move it in with this side here. Okay. So I think probably it's going to come into here. So we're going to move this down, move this across. You can see this comes in here, and now move it up. Now we're starting to create a white side over here. Let's look for another one. Obviously this one doesn't belong, so let's move it out. Move this down, large side to move it out, move this back up. Replaced it with yet another bad one. But anyway, it's got to come into the red side. So which one will that be? Well, it's not going to be this one here, so it's going to be this one over here. So we're going to move this down so that these guys can coincide, move it in, and move it up. So there's our red. Here's the other green and red. Now I know that's supposed to go here, so let's just move this out. And now it's going to lop into it on this side. So turn it over here. And then coordinate our green side so that it can fall right into place here. And move it up. Again, I hope you're catching all this. Now there's one more to go, which will be this side. Big side to move it in over here. Move this up here. This has to coincide with this through this side here. So we'll move this down to receive it. Turn this over here so we can put it in and move it up. Alright, so really that's a little more than just positioning, but now we have the first layer here. What I do next is pretty much exactly how I do a Megaminx. I'm now going to want to put these edges in here. The good news with these is I've got a lot to choose from. These aren't the specific edges that go between two centers. This is the non-specific ones. This is already in, and this is already in. That was made all too easy. Now I want to put in another red one, and it can be this one. The technique for doing that, and I'm going to demonstrate it a couple times, but the technique for doing that is find one and go to the center that's just above it, and it's the large center over here. The whole trick now is to coincide this red with this over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of the way, like say over here, and I'm going to move this up. So I've got these two facing the same side. What I now want to do is I want to make it to where I overlap two layers with each other. For instance, this is here. You can see how if I can move this in this layer over here, I can kind of move it into position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over here so that it's out of the way. Now I'm going to use this layer here to turn it away. Now I'm going to turn this edge back and turn it in. So now I've just coincided it with this. Now I'm just going to turn it back here and move it down. So now I have that. This is already in, so let's do another yellow. We move any yellow, and again, bear in mind, it's not this kind. It's this kind that doesn't have another triangle next to it. So find any yellow, except this one, not this one, but this one's okay. Move it up to that layer. Move this up so that they're facing the same side. Bump it out of the way, and I'm doing the same thing. Move this out of the way, move this yellow in, move it up here to coincide it, and then bring it all back here, move it down. So there it is. Let's do it one more time with the pink one. I already have the correct pink one over here. By correct, I mean it's one of, I think, 3 that I can use. Let's move it out of the way, bring this pink one up like this. And now same kind of thing. I know that this is the one, this is where I'm going to want it to be. So I'm going to move this into that position, bump it out of the way, move the center in, move it back, move this back, move it down. Piece of cake. So what we have is we have not only the first part of this small layer here, but we've got all of these corners in. Now the only difference is that there were a bunch that were already put in, but I think you get the picture.